Grandpa had a special habit of collecting all kinds of dead bodies, and in the middle of the night to move the dead bodies to the room, until the next day was buried in the mountains behind my house. The villagers said that Grandpa was a psychopath. The whole village followed suit and threatened to burn all the fire. At this time, Grandpa stood up and roared, "Who dare to move the grave in the back mountain? Who moves and who dies?" That night, all the troublemakers were hanged on the beams of their houses, and a total of 17 people died. And since then the people in the village have been hiding from my house. But I didn't believe that my grandfather had such a great ability, and afterwards I asked my grandfather how these people died, and my grandfather told me that these people were going to burn their graves and offend those things in the ground, so they died. Subsequently, he touched my head and said, 11. Our Ing family started from the Ming dynasty. What he does is the business of a corpse collector, specialized in helping the 5 master teachers settle down. Our family earns Ingda. Others can't make money if they want to. Since then, I always stayed with my grandfather, growing up watching the process of collecting corpses again and again. However, the first time I went to collect the body, I followed my grandfather to collect the bodies of my parents. My family is at the turn of Yellow River. Outside the village is the water of Yellow River. A reed swing was formed. Sometimes several nameless corpses swim in. That day, my parents went down to the river to retrieve the body. The salvage ship doesn't know how. It was thrown directly into the water. Not even a chance to make a head. My parents were gone, and my grandfather asked me what to do. At this point, I could guess some of his thoughts. He wanted me to inherit the Ing family's inheritance, become a real packer. There are rules in the tidying up. It's not that people can't touch these things. Otherwise, it will be bad luck. You may even lose your life because of it. I won't force you if you want to. I'll collect your parents' bodies. Grandpa sighed, disappointed in me. Get up and take the guy and leave. My parents are gone. Can't let Grandpa have an accident anymore. I'll go. I spoke loudly. Owe me a promise. There wasn't much joy on Grandpa's face. Good. Grandpa's response was also sonorous and powerful. After saying that, he pulled out his big wooden box of treasure. He took out a stone whip made of lightning-struck jujube wood. Come with me with the stone whip. I took the stone whip and followed in my grandfather's footsteps. I thought that our grandfather was going to Lu Wei. Grandpa took me to the back mountain. Come to the center of the mountain tombs. Grandpa shouted at me sternly. 11 knelt down. I knelt down in front of the graves of the mountains as my grandfather had said. Everybody, today I will hand over this burden to my grandson. I hope that in the future, when my grandson is in danger, you can do it conveniently. Grandpa lit a stick of incense for me. Let me hold incense in both hands and worship in all directions. When I was done, I was asked to put the incense on the ground. It's okay to go to the end of Lu. I glanced back at the back mountain. Hold a corpse whip in your hand. I've seen my grandfather bring a guard to this thing. It is used to beat the corpses of murderers. I didn't understand it before. People are dead. How fierce can they be? It can be said that it is a time when parents collect the body. It really showed me the power of murderous corpses. Arrived at the end of Lu, my grandfather took me to the place where my parents capsized. I looked at the blackened water, and my heart was furious. Rules for corpse collectors. Before going into the water to collect the body, you need to order a spicy at the bow, and start the country at a cern. Grandpa opened his mouth and commanded me. I answered and did as I could. When I'm done with that, I take out the rope. One end is tied to himself. The other end is given to Grandpa. Collecting a body in the water requires the cooperation of 2 people. If there is something unclean in the water, the people on board will be the first to find out. You can pull people up with a rope. I took a deep breath. A fierce man plunged into the water. I almost flattened the bottom of the water around me. I was stunned and found nothing. Just when I was holding my breath to the limit and wanted to breathe, a clump of jet black hair floated towards me. A miserable white face was close to me. Immediately frightened, I took a few sips of water. I just found out when I pulled it away. A lady with long hair is lying upside down in the water. I tried desperately to calm myself down. Surfaced as fast as possible. 2 hands panted on the boat. Grandfather, there is a lady with an upside-down onion under the water. I panicked. Look left and right. Where is the grandfather's voice on the boat? What's even weirder? The candle in the bow and the box in the stern turned out to be extinguished. And this ship is not the same as the one just now. 11 leaves the ship. Grandpa's anxious voice came from behind him. Grandpa's face was solemn, and his expression was like a flute. The oars in their hands slipped toward me. I was just about to reply when there was a sudden surge. Pulled me straight out of the boat and into the water. I tried my best to swim upstream, but something was holding my ankles so hard. I can't break free at all. At this point I noticed the other end of the hemp rope. It was actually tied to the lady who stole the onion. The lady who stole the onion actually floated straight at me, and it's standing in the water in a hugging position. With the last breath of my mouth exhaled, the lady wrapped her arms around me. You want me dead? But the next moment, I felt my neck tighten again. Someone grabbed me by the collar and kicked it up. I could see that it was my grandfather. Grandpa holds corpse whip, pour directly on the lady's stomach. That's what separates the 2 of us. Back to Grandpa's boat. I breathed heavily, and the grandfather grabbed the oars and slid desperately to the shore. The boat hadn't slipped far yet. The stern of the ship suddenly thumped up half a meter high. I looked at the stern. 2 feet emerged from the water. "Lev, quickly whip with corpse," Grandpa said loudly. I grabbed the stone whip, hit the feet with ashes. It's just that the stone whip hasn't yet touched the water, tumbling with a few blisters. The feet sank to the bottom. Grandpa didn't dare to linger. "Take me ashore as fast as you can. Get off the boat." I sat down on the rocks on the shore. I don't know if it's because of fear. I was trembling all over my body. Grandpa looked at the water. His face showed unprecedented solemnity. "Walk home," Grandpa spoke. I had just taken 2 steps and almost tripped over. When I looked at my feet and neck, I found that I didn't know how many aquatic plants were wrapped. Grandpa glanced back at me, didn't say anything. On the way, Grandpa didn't say a word. If he doesn't say it, I don't dare ask. But the bodies of my parents are still in the reeds. Back home, Grandpa from building some wood ash from the house. Sprinkle at the door. Then he lit another stick of incense and stuck it outside the door. 11 your parents' corpses. It may not be able to be caught. Grandpa's words made my heart chill. Why? I don't understand. Grandpa just shook his head vigorously. It's not as simple as yours. You want to take back your parents' bodies. Let's save my life first. Save my life? What do you mean? I asked my grandfather if I was alive and well. Tomorrow I'll take the edge of the stone and go into the water. I don't believe that green onion dares to hide it from me. Grandpa looked at me in a hurry. He looked at my feet and neck again. I also looked down at my ankles. A pitch-black palm print was found on the neck of the foot. When you go ashore, I have aquatic plants wrapped around my feet and neck. I thought it was a delusion. Now it seems absolutely not. That thing has got its hands on you. Grandpa spoke weakly. I was about to open my mouth to retort. Grandpa's old age is whimsical. I know his phone best. As long as it's not a corpse. I don't think about it. I'll go over after a while. Grandpa looked at me after speaking. I'm going to go out. Aim to come back before dark. You lock the door at home. Don't go out until I come back. I couldn't scream in anger. It's your parents. That's my son and daughter-in-law too. You want Lao Tzu to die, son. Do you want to give up your grandson now? Grandpa immediately turned his head after speaking. The moment he turned his head, I saw his eyes become cloudy. When he went out, Grandpa suddenly stopped again. If I don't come back in the evening, there's a knock on the door. You take the corpse whip and go to the back door to the back mountain. If there's something to chase after you, thou shalt struck the cup before the grave 3 times with the whip of the dead. The crisis can be resolved. After saying that, he left without looking back. Leave me alone in the yard. After Grandpa left, I looked at the black handprints on my feet and neck. No matter what method you use, you can't get rid of it. By nightfall, there was a sharp knock at the gate outside the courtyard. Who is it? I shouted. I subconsciously clenched the wet edge. Get up and walk towards the door. Who? I shouted again. 11 is Grandpa. Opened the door quickly. Grandpa's voice was hoarse. I stepped forward to open the door. But standing in front of the door, I hesitated. For the earth was full of water. It has flowed from outside the gate to the courtyard. Could it be that something from the water is really looking for me? You're not my grandfather. Who the hell are you? I asked. There was no movement outside the door. After a few breaths, the voice rang out again. I'm really a grandfather. It's not water on the ground. It's urine. But there was no movement. I can't go back at night. If someone knocks on the door, you're going up the back hill through the back door. Grandpa's voice came from the phone. I hung up the phone with a grunt. I looked at the door and didn't need to be sure. Right now, there was a loud bang on the courtyard door. The entire courtyard wall of the town trembled. You can't run away. There was a voice from the pubic side outside the door. Then there was a loud bang. Don't you want your parents' corpses? The voice came again. I knew the voice outside was trying to provoke me. I walked towards the back door with my wet hands in hand. Just walked to the back door. A loud bang came from behind him. The heavy courtyard gate and the courtyard wall all collapsed. I saw a dark shadow standing in a doorway. I see you. A voice came from the pubic side. I opened the back door and ran towards the back hill. The thing behind him was in hot pursuit. Rushing to the hill, I held it and hit it 10 times. 3 knocks in a row towards the first tombstone. It's useless. The old guy was miserable by you. The dark shadow behind him was in hot pursuit. It's almost close to me. I knocked on more than a dozen gravestones in a row, but except for one gust of wind after another, and it didn't work. Lao Tzu is not running. Catching up is death anyway. It's a big deal. But when I turned to look behind me, except for pitch black, there was no movement. Probably the reason for standing on the mountain. The whole back mountain is cloudy and windy. I also kept on chilling. I don't know how long it took. In the end, I felt stiff all over. Sit directly on the ground. Rest with your back against a tombstone. I don't know if it's my delusion. These winds, centered on me, they keep spinning. When I couldn't hold on. Outside things. I'm also throwing all the pig's hair. 11 wake up. Lev, hear Grandpa's voice. I subconsciously picked up the whip and was about to do it. When you see the dawn, Grandpa crouched in front of me, when looking at me with a loving face. Suddenly, countless grievances came to my heart. It almost didn't make me cry. Grandfather, it's fine if you're okay. It's okay. The expression on Grandpa's face was slightly soothing. Grandfather, last night it was probably the lady who planted the green onions. I hurriedly spoke. No, all. Grandpa said as he reached out and pulled me to my feet. Then he looked at the countless graves around him. Now you can stand here in peace. It is you who are the masters of these ownerless households. My family helped him pack up and bury him. They owe us the lives of the Eagle family. The Eagle family inheritance token is the corpse whip in your hand. I'll have you hit the gravestone 3 times. It is equivalent to letting these masterless teachers repay my Eagle family. Last night without them, I'm afraid you're already drowning in the water. When Grandpa said this, I remembered the mountain last night. There was a lot of wind around me, but nothing happened to me. Could it be that something in the grave saved me? 11 these gravestones you knocked on last night. Count out 2 heads in front of each gravestone. Grandpa, so many graves I was in a panic last night. I don't know how many gravestones were knocked. Grandpa smiled darkly when he heard this. I didn't see it. In front of each tombstone is a green tile upside down. At first glance I did. Some of the green tiles in front of the tombstones have been shattered. You knocked the gravestone 3 times with 10 sides. After the things in a grave helped you, the green tiles under the tombstone will shatter. Of course, the green tiles under the tombstone were shattered. It is equivalent to the complete drawing of the line between our Eagle family and the other party. I see. Grandpa said that, and I understood. Just look for the broken tiles under the gravestone. You can't go wrong. Descend from the back hill. At this moment, there was an old man wearing sunglasses standing in front of the house. Grandpa called him Chen Bamblind. Eaglehead, this is your precious grandson. He is a seedling who is a corpse collector. It is good to be righteous and not evil. I'm not here to ask for a debt. Grandpa spoke unhappily. The other party didn't like the joke when he saw his grandfather. He also converged a little. Then he looked at the iron gate of my house with a solemn face. I looked along. There were bloody handprints on this door. It's not going to be shocking. I can't get a life. It's so fierce. The half-blind man folded his mouth. If you suspect it, get out. In the future, don't go out to pick up work. Don't say you know me. Grandpa said cruel words. Grandpa went into the house and got some yellow powder out. Started wiping the black handprints on my feet and neck with yellow powder. It's useless for you to do that. This eye of mine was made by an upside-down onion. Chunban's blonde man broke cold water. Grandpa was so angry that he sprinkled the yellow powder in his hand. So what do you say? It's really going to make the Ian family cut off the incense. How can I explain to my ancestors? Those treasures in the mountains behind you. Let your grandson go into the water with something awesome. Maybe the 2 sides will contend with each other. You were able to take advantage of the loopholes. Grandpa hesitated for a moment. Okay, that's it. You 2 go to the back mountain and ask for a better one. I'll go back and get ready. I rushed back before 12 noon. Chunban's blind man left without looking back. Then my grandfather took me to the back mountain again. This time, he went straight to the mountain companion demon. Grandfather, why don't you choose from the bottom of the mountain and go to the top of the mountain? I asked Grandpa. The Ian family will also receive a fierce lion with a cold mouth and resentment when collecting corpses. It is enough for an ordinary lion to be buried halfway up the mountainside. The lion is about to be buried halfway up the mountain. What about the graves on the top of the mountain? I asked Grandpa. Grandpa shook his head. Those graves above. I don't know where it came from. Listen to your grandfather. The contents of the tomb on the top of the mountain are terrifying. Grandpa stopped in front of a gravestone. It collapsed. Grandpa looked at the grave in front of him and thought for a moment. I glanced at the tombstone. It is written the date of collection and the name of the person who collected the body. The poem under this tombstone. It was Grandpa who took it back. Grandpa asked me to knock on the gravestone by beating the corpse. I didn't hesitate either. Knocked 3 times on the gravestone. What to do next? I asked Grandpa. Go back with the frog under the gravestone. Wait for Chendan's blind man to come back and listen to him. I nodded and came home with the frog in my hands. It was close to noon. Chen's blind man appeared carrying a black canvas bag. Tell me how you're going to try it in a moment. Grandpa said with some unease. Chendan's blind man pointed to the bag on the ground. The guys are all brought. I just risked my life. Save your father's life, too. Again to the reeds. I start to make mistakes when I think about yesterday. Grandpa handed me the stone whip. He came to steer the ship. What a heavy heroism. Chenban's blind man suddenly spoke. The Eaglehead stopped the ship. Why stop the boat? My parents aren't here. I spoke. Chunban opened his backpack blindly. Grabbed a handful of black boxes from inside. It was lit and plugged into the bow of the boat. Today I'm doing it east. According to my rules for facing people, I want to fish up your parents' bodies. We have to solve this onion planting first. We're just waiting here for him to come to us. Chunban finished speaking. There was a muffled thud in the stern. It looked like it had hit something. Immediately after that, the hull began to shake violently. Grandpa feet. I looked at the feet next to the boat. I know it's the lady who planted the onion. Chunban's blind man quickly took it out of his bag. A pitch-black pig-killing knife was held in his hand. Eaglehead, don't say that Lao Tzu is not righteous. I'm going to pull this green onion for you right now. Wait for Chunban to finish speaking. The woman's corpse had sunk into the water. As the water splashes and fades, Chunban's blind man also jumped into the water. Grandpa, this Chen companion is blind. Can you really clean up this green onion? I asked Grandpa. I don't know. If even she can't shake this green onion, I'm afraid that no one within 100 miles can shake it. Neither my grandfather nor I spoke anymore, just staring silently at the water. 2 minutes later, with the sound of a wave of water, there was a bang. Chunban's blind face was not good looking at the moment. 11, lend me the guy you brought in. I didn't hesitate. Gave the frog to Chanban blind. Chanban's blind man held a frog in one hand. Got into the water again. The next moment, black water kept coming up. It also has a wet and smelly tail. I was just about to ask my grandfather. There was a bang on the water. A black piece was thrown onto the boat. I fixed my eyes on it. The 3 souls and 7 spirits were immediately scared away, and 1 soul and 3 spirits were immediately scared away. Eagle Head rose ashore quickly. Chunban's blind man peeked out of the water and yelled nervously. Grandpa didn't dare to be careless. With both hands at the helm, he rowed up. Chunban was blind, and Carp turned over and went to the stern. His right hand gripped his pit-killing knife. His left hand was wrapped around a few loops of hip rope and dragged desperately. The other end seems to be tied to some heavy object that extends into the water. As the boat slipped faster and faster, the other end of the hemp rope was also completely revealed. It's a corpse. It had no head. Look at the head on the boat. Could it be this corpse? The next moment, the surface of the water gurgled and began to bubble. Chasing our boat, pair after pair of feet began to appear on the water. It's all rice and onions. This scene made my scalp tingle. Eagle's head slides quickly. Otherwise, I'll have to explain it all here today. Chunban's blind man yelled. 11, drag this Massachusetts. Never let go. I nodded firmly, hands clutching Massachusetts. Chunban's blind man unbuttoned his pants. It's in the water. Let you guys taste Grandpa's urine. Watch Chunban's blind man leak 1,000 miles. The movement in the stern did slow down a bit. After the companion things, the rice forks and onions continued to chase after them. Those without eating and eating penalty 1. Chunban's blind man scolded. If you don't want your head to move, you will continue to catch up. It's a big deal. Lao Tzu will die with you. Chunban's blind man roared. Those upside-down onions that followed the stern all sank to the bottom. Chunban snorted blindly. He threw the corpse's head onto the boat. The face of the upside-down onion. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. Wait for the ship to dock. As a result, the hip rope in my hand slammed away. Dumped the headless corpse in the water on the shore. When I got home, Grandpa asked Chunban to be blind. What is going on underwater? Chunban's blind face became serious. Pepsi-chan. Instantly, Grandpa's face turned pale. What is 100 corpse maker? And this upside-down onion has been cleaned up. Tomorrow, can I go and fish up my parents' bodies? Chunban's next words shattered all my hopes. The corpses of the 100 corpses are gathered together in the water. And it's all the same pose. It's not like you didn't see those things at the time. It's all green onions in the water. This time, it's the guy you invited from the back mountain. That's why I was able to clean up this green onion. But it also offended the carpenter in the water. Chunban said with regret. The bodies of your parents are in this 100 corpse maker. It's hard to get their bodies back to the sky. There must be another way, right? I asked Chun half blind. John was half blind and kept shaking his head. It's useless. I was about to follow up. Grandpa stopped me. Don't embarrass Chun as a half blind man. You haven't experienced the power of 100 corpse makers. You pack up your things and go to the establishment with Chen half blind. Grandpa turned around and left. Why did you let me leave with Chen's half blind man? I don't understand and want to ask Grandpa. But the bamboo pole in Chen's half-blind hand knocked on me. He pointed to the female corpse on the ground. Now we have offended these corpse craftsmen. Just get close to the reeds. Those things are definitely going to find their way. Drag people into the water and kill them. You shouldn't have forgotten what happened last night. If you're not afraid of death, you can come with me. Chunban said lightly. But I can't help but worry about my grandfather. What will he do if I'm gone? Chunban's blind man seemed to see my heart. The eagle head has cleaned up a lot over the years. And there's those things in the back mountains. Your grandfather will be fine. You've just become a packer. I just want those people in the back mountain to cover it. You're old. Looking at the female corpse on the ground. Where did my parents offend them? They want to do this to our house. I'm going to vent my frustration by riding and whipping corpses. But Chen's blind man stopped directly in front of the lady. Big brother, you were angry. But don't smash my job. What I said made me a little fierce. Before leaving, my grandfather told me a lot. I'll let you follow Chen companion blindly. On the one hand, it allows you to learn the ability to suppress corpses. On the one hand, it is for you to go out and hide. Wait until you learn to suppress corpses. It's not too late to come back and collect your parents' bodies. If you receive an ownerless corpse in the future, you can bring it back and bury it in Back Mountain. Grandpa handed me the whip. It is said that it can be used for self-defense. It was a black car parked in front of my house. A middle-aged couple got out of the car. There was also a man in a suit in his 30s. The middle-aged couple saw the female corpse, and he began to cry loudly. As for the man in the suit, in addition to accidents, the rest is disgust. Mr. Chun, you have to give me an explanation for this. The man in the suit pointed to the corpse on the ground and questioned Chin's half-blind man. John was half-blind and looked indifferent. It's nice to be able to get the corpse up for you. I don't cut off his head in the water. He's going to kill me. Facing Chin's half-blind man, the man in the suit in front of him is really out of line. Carry the body into the car. I'll confirm it for you when I go back. The middle-aged father saw the female corpse put into a fruit bag, and no longer howling and crying. Instead, he was communicating with Chan semi-blind. A few minutes later I was in the car, watching Grandpa's figure get smaller and smaller. I have mixed feelings. Mr. Chan, what the hell happened to my daughter's body? Didn't you say that you want to be a whole corpse? The middle-aged woman was complaining about Chin's half-blind man. Cut off the head of the woman. I told you about it then. If it really happens in the water, I don't guarantee a full corpse. John is half-blind and has no regard for the feelings of others. I said before that I would give 500,000 if I fish up the corpse. Now I'm going to add 50,000 more. It's kind of a mental damage fee for me. This is a short time. I was completely thundered by Shin's half-blind man. Mr. Chan, aren't you afraid of losing weight when you start up like this? The middle-aged man spoke. He was entrained with anger in it. Fold it then. If you don't want to, stop your car. I threw the body in. You can find whoever you want. The middle-aged couple was also speechless. Fortunately, he didn't bother to pay attention to Shin's half-blind man. On the way I learned from their fragmented chat. The man in the suit who drove the car was called Zheng Kai. It was the lady's husband who had his head cut. The middle-aged couple sitting next to me is called Lin Xian. The woman's name is Deng Shui. Yes, the woman is Lin Yuan's parents. This Lin family runs a factory in the city. Zheng Kai is the son-in-law of the Lin family. The two quarreled over a trivial matter. As a result, Zheng Kai was slapped twice. Lin Yuan couldn't think of using a suicide threat for a while. Let Zheng Kai kneel down and apologize. As a result, before Zheng Kai knelt down, I slipped under my feet and planted myself in the river first. This is tantamount to killing yourself. Later, the Lin family found Jin Ban blind. It is a huge figure of 500,000. The location of the blind man at the turn of the Yellow River found one of Lin Yuan's clothes. After being confirmed by the Lin family, Chun was half blind and began to search for Lin Yuan's body. Time to go back to yesterday afternoon. Grandpa answered the phone and went out. In fact, it was Chin's half-blind man who answered the phone at that time. To be on the safe side, I just want my grandfather to ask the things from the back mountains to help him do. My parents' bodies couldn't be fished out of the water. Chan is half-blind and a corpse man. So Grandpa used this as a benefit for both sides of the transaction. It's just I'm curious. Why did Lin Yuan become such a murderous corpse as Pepsi? 11. We arrived. Heard Chan's half-blind man's call. I got out of the car and picked up my luggage. In front of the courtyard of the villa. At this moment, the morning hall has been built. 11 come in with me. Shun was half-blind and called me. I followed to an empty room. Except for me and Shun, who are half-blind. It is a spiritual wooden bowl lying on the ground. As a corpse collector, no one can squeeze the appropriate means of your own family. I'm more of a corpse. So the head of this female doll is handed over to you to so-and-so. Shun was half-blind and commanded me. Now I don't have the right to say no. I brought my own luggage. Find out what you're going to use. When I sew corpses, you help me watch and don't let people come in and disturb me. I said to Chan Ban blind. Chan Ban said yes and walked out of the house. I got the needle and thread ready. Take out the incense burner and place it in the seat. After lighting a stick of incense, he began to thread the needle. Kneeling beside the corpse and looking at the female corpse with her eyes closed. To say that you are not afraid of that needle is a lie. This time, I can't talk about whether I was scared or not, and what I thought in my heart. It is to let Lin Yuan's head be completed. Let her return to her roots. I see that a stick of incense is about to burn out. There are still 3 stitches left to complete the stitches. When I was about to get a needle, the door was suddenly pushed open. With a gust of wind, he fell. Lin Yuan, who originally closed her eyes. Suddenly, I opened my eyes, and 2 tears of blood. It flowed to the cheeks in an instant. Chun is blind. I yelled. Chen Ban's blind man rushed to see Zheng Kai at the door. It's not good to know that big things are good. The rules for cleaning up people and to shrine corpses. It must not be disturbed. Looked at Lin Yuan on the ground. Chen Ban's blind face suddenly turned pale. Pull a wooden nail out of the sleeve. Rushed in and faced Lin Yuan's eyebrows. I just shot it down. The dead man opens his eyes and his house is restless. The flesh and skin of Lin Yuan. Originally, it was standing in the incense of Dongwei. Now it's burned out. Stop, it's going to happen. Chun was half blind and spoke to me. 11 went out and told Lin Xian. Let him prepare 5 old roosters. I got up and nodded. Prepare to go out to find Lin Xian. Just at the sand gate where I got up. Lin Yuan, who was originally lying on the ground. Just sit there straight and straight. Chun was half blind and didn't dare to be careless. Reached out and pulled out 3 7-inch mahogany nails. Nail into the back of Lin Yuan's head, respectively. There are also bone injuries to the posterior spine and tail. Lin Yuan lay down again, but his eyes were wide open. It turns out that corpses can also be pierced. Coming out of the villa, I walked towards Lin Xian with a pause. Chenban is blind, let me tell you. Get ready for the assault of the coffin and 5 old coffins. So what happened to my daughter's body? Lin Xian asked me. No comment. After saying that, I entered the villa. Back to the room. I look like Lin Muan lying on the ground. At this moment, the eyes are closed. But it can be seen from the blood and tears in the corners of Lin Muan's eyes. This lady is not reconciled. Chenban blind ignored me. Instead, he pulled out a copper coin from his pocket, broke Lin Muan's mouth and stuffed it in. You clean his body, and I'll get the beast's clothes. After speaking, Chenban turned around and left the house. Lin Muan and I were the only ones left in the room. Brought towels and a basin from the bathroom. I began to help clean up the wisdom from him. It's just when I'm helping Lin Muan wipe her belly. It felt like his belly was bigger than the other parts. I'm not very proficient in gynecology, but a person is not pregnant. I can still feel it. And at this very moment, Chen's blind man came in. I saw my hands roaming on people's bellies. Come up right away and give me a brain. What are you doing, kid? I withdrew my hand in pain. The woman's belly was even more puffy than her area. I'll see if she's pregnant. Chen's half-blind face became gloomy. Squatted down and put his hand on Lin Muan's abdomen. It's a thought for a while. Chen's face was full of shock. Chen kicked the door open and walked out. Wait for her to come back in. He was still dragging Zhang Kai in his hand. Zhang Kai lay on the ground with a hunting crab. Chen, blind man, what do you mean? Where have I offended you? Do you know that your wife lost 2 lives? Chen was half-blind and spoke. No way. Zhang Kai immediately retorted. She and I have protections every time. It is impossible to have children. Movement in the room also attracted Lin Xian. At this time, Zhang Kai stood up. Father, blind Chen said that my son was pregnant. Pregnant? Lin Xian had an electrocuted expression. Looked at Chen half-blind. No way. Absolutely impossible. Lin Xian's voice was firm. The corpse is here now. Your daughter has one in her belly anyway. According to the rules of my shocking people, the child and mother are not able to shake, unless you give birth to something in your belly. At this time, I was shocked by 2 lives. I am going to be damned. Chen's half-blind man almost jumped up and hit someone. Let's not say a word. I interrupted the argument between the two. Find a forensic doctor to identify it. Okay, I'll go to the medical examiner right now. Lin Xian spoke angrily. I followed Chen's companion out of the villa. I always felt that there was something wrong with Zhang Kai. I broke the silence and said to Chenban's blind man, something is wrong. Chen asked me blindly. I thought about it for a moment and shook my head. I can't say what is wrong. The two are not like normal forensic doctors. It's about 20 minutes. A car was parked in front of the villa. A man in his 30s got out of the car. This should be the forensic doctor invited by Lin Xian. This Lin Xian's ability is quite big. Chenban said blindly. No, I asked curiously. Chenban's blind man had a sneering expression. When Lin Xian walked into the villa with the forensic doctor, in less than a few minutes, Lin Xian came out of the villa with a panicked expression. Chen is blind. Where did you hide my daughter's body? Where did I hide your daughter's body? Chenban's blind man saw that he had been wronged. Stand up and slam the table angrily and retort loudly. Lin Xian looked flustered. Looks like he's not kidding. What about my daughter's corpse? Chenban got up and ran to the villa. Wait until you get to the room where the corpse of the wood bowl is parked, except for a white cloth and 4 mahogany nails. Where is there still the corpse of the forest bowl, except for the Lin family? Let everyone hurry up. Chenban's blind voice was not loud, but it was full of affirmation. Exploded. Fried again. This has been no less than twice. I sighed in surprise. There is no place to store a lot of water around the villa. Chenban asked Lin Xian blindly. Swimming pool in the backyard. Lin Xian replied puzzled. The moment you come to the backyard and see the pool, everyone present was stunned. At this moment, Hayashimaru's body is being planted in the pool. A pair of feet sticking out of the water is particularly weird. Besides, Hayashimaru has already begun to grow white hairs. Also, Lin Xian was shocked. Chen was half blind and looked into the water. There was no shock to the corpse after the corpse. When the corpse returns to the water, it is equivalent to turning it into an upside-down onion again. Chen was half blind inside, glancing at the woodsman in the pool. Let the idlers and others leave first. Wait for everyone to leave. I stood by the pool and stared at the water. The water in this pool is falling. I said it casually. What do you say? Chen was half blind and half yelled. Then came to me. I lost my water and was going to stiffen. Chen's companion spoke tremblingly as the blind man spoke. Chenban's blind man first grabbed the spiritual blood. If the old thing doesn't want to die, let people hurry to prepare things. Prepare as much as I want for pig killing. And Massachusetts also has more for me. Brine the pig with rice wine to kill. Then give me Massachusetts and pig syrup water. Spirit blood and Zhang Kai hurriedly went to prepare these things. 11. There are some things that I need to prepare myself to be relieved. The corpse in the pool is handed over to you. Your family's corpse whip can restrain all masters. You can use it for your body. But if you really can't hold on, run as far as you can. Shen half-blind man finished explaining. He left the villa without looking back. I'm armed with a deadly whip. Come to the backyard pool whip. as the water level continues to drop. Half of Lin Yuan's body has been revealed. The water level of the entire pool is already halfway down. At this moment, Lin Yuan has nothing but face. The entire body is completely covered in long white hairs. His black hair gradually turned white. Another 5 minutes passed. The moment the water in the pool is completely sucked dry, Lin Yuan stood up directly. The eyes of the two-eyed demon are staring at me. Standing there, I was too scared to move. It's not an occasion where the enemy doesn't move and I don't move, and I'm dealing with something that has already turned into a pole. That's when it happened. Lin Yuan's flaming red lips cracked. Laughed at my. A gurgling sound comes from the mouth. This thing rushed at me. I waved the corpse whip in my hand. Once again, it covered Lin Yuan's body. As the necrophily lashed over her body. Pull yourself up. It was like a red-hot iron rod touching human skin. Lin Yuan was also completely enraged. With one of her howls. Not to mention, the glass was shattered. Shinban said that if he couldn't do it, he would run. I don't dare to risk my life to stop this Lin Yuan. Just as I was about to run, Shenban's blind man rushed back with a large bag of things. He pulled a sluice knife out of his bag. Towards Lin Yuan, he slashed up. A fight. The sound of metal clashing was heard. Cut on Lin Yuan's body. In addition to cutting off a few white hairs. It didn't cause any real harm to it. 11 went and fetched the cinnabar rope. Chen was half blind and shouted at me. I dare not hesitate. Go to the backyard and bring the cinnabar rope and hand it to Shinban blind. The cinnabar rope is in the hands of Shin's half-blind man. It's like being alive. Wrapped the corpse of the wooded bowl around. And Chen was half-blind and threw the rope to me. Now the corpse is temporarily contained. 11. You dragged the general to me. Chen was half-blind and finished. He wrapped all the ropes in his hand around the wood bowl. Then he went through the things he had brought back. Only a pig litter rope is bound. Lin Yuan pounced on me again. I waved the corpse whip in my hand. Lin Yuan, who was going to be there for a while, couldn't help me. But now I can't help it. It doesn't mean that you will never be able to help me. The pig sand rope on Lin Yuan's body. Many places have been burned black. It can definitely break free in a few strokes. At this time, Shinban's blind man got up. In his hands he was holding several 9-inch long coffin nails. A heavenly spirit that flew towards Lin Yuan slapped down. With a howl of boiling, Lin Yuan grabbed her head with both hands and began to run wild. Take advantage of your illness to screw your life. Shinban's blind man saw the opportunity. The remaining coffin nails in the hand. It was nailed to the back of the head of the woody bowl, and on the vertebrae, the stiffness that was originally taken away. At this moment, lying on the ground can only struggle. Strange things happened again. The white hairs on Lin Yuan's body began to erect. The stomach is also slowly disappearing. Chun walked forward, reached out and pressed twice on the stomach of the woody bowl. Then he looked up at me and shook his head slightly. It's hard to become a fetus in the belly. I stepped forward too, a few times on the stomach of the woody bowl. Then he looked at Shanban's blind man with a puzzled expression. It may be a vaginal fetus. Shanban's blind man spoke leisurely. Female fetus. What the hell is this? The vaginal tire is troublesome though, but it's not a bad thing. The child and the mother are separated. Lin Yuan's corpse. I can have no scruples about earthquakes. As for the female fetus, it will be different from the mother. That's a ghost in the truest sense of the word. After Shanban's blind man finished speaking, he turned his head to look at Lin Xian. Prepare the coffin. Soon a coffin was carried into the courtyard. Then put Lin Yuan's body into the coffin. Then use mahogany nails. Seals all the joints of the whole body. The whole process is cruel though. But in order to prevent another incident, this can only be done. Besides, Lin Yuan's belly. It was also painted with all kinds of strange runes by Chan's semi-blind with cinnabar. Wait until the coffin is completely nailed. Chun was half blind and really relieved. Mr. Chun, will this corpse continue to deceive the corpse? Lin Xian ran to ask Chen half blind. That's it, you can still cheat the corpse. And don't be too big for my poets. Chen's half-blind face was full of confidence. It's time to pay when it's over. 600,000. Lin Xian's expression changed as soon as he brushed it. The price has risen again. You sit on the ground in a car, and the starting price rises by 50,000 yuan, and I admit it. Now it's up another 50,000. I didn't see Lao Tzu use anything. I'm not going to fight to the death. Your daughter must not strangle you first. Don't give me the switch right now. You ask for another mastery. It's clear that you're a scoundrel. Lin Xian reluctantly paid 600,000 yuan. Chen Ban's blind man shouted that he was about to leave. On the way, Chen Ban's blind man asked for my card number. I was given $50,000. Is that eagle fetus really a ghost? I asked, curiously. Do you think so? You're wrapped around that bowl of wood. He chases you to the back mountain, and you can be safe. You feel like it's the work of a gust of wind. I was stopped by his words. Now think about it, and I can't get a chill down my back. You are the corpse collector. I'm a corpse. To put bluntly, they all eat eagle rice. Whether or not there are any of these things, we all need to be in awe. Came to the place where Chin's blind man lived. The whole room is cluttered. It's just a pig's nest description. 1 billion meters to live in the bedroom to the west. Chen Ban showed me the location blindly. The moment I opened the door, my whole person is not good. In addition to a hard bed, The floor was full of bottles and cans. This place isn't habitable. I don't know if it's not adaptable. I'm not feeling well right now. Jinban looked at me blindly. What's going on with you? The rat ran on. Pretty much. I feel sick all over. It's like a rat crawling. Chan was blind from my suitcase. Took out the corpse whip. Then, Jinban's blind man threw the corpse whip to me. I reached out and held it in my hand. It's still uncomfortable. It's weird. It's not uncomfortable. The discomfort just now is completely gone. Jinban's blind man looked at me with a solemn face. Give me the whip. The moment the whip leaves his hand, the uncomfortable feeling reappeared. It was like an invisible hand holding my neck. It started to feel bad again. I opened my mouth with a blushing face. Jinban's blind man handed me the wet side again. The uncomfortable feeling disappeared. What am I doing? I asked Jinban to be blind. 11. Go and get a bowl of rice. A piece of raw meat is hidden in the rice. Insert 2 chopsticks on top of the rice. Then find a nearby intersection. Put the rice at the intersection and you'll be back. Remember that it doesn't matter who calls you on the road. Don't stop and look back. Jinban's blind voice was firm. Let me understand that this is not easy. Think back to what happened in the past few days. Hayashi Mumaru has been put in a coffin. Turn away. But the way back was not smooth. There was no one on the road, but I heard footsteps behind me. There was also the sound of children playing. 11. Mom up. You look back at Mom. Behind me came my mother's voice. I forced myself to compose. What is on my mind is that there must be no turning back. My parents' bodies are still in Luwei, surrounded by hundreds of horses. How could it be here? The voices behind him continued. To the back. I plugged my ears directly with toilet paper. Returned to Chin's blind man's house. I looked at the wood ash on the ground in the doorway. I looked at the yellow paper on the wall again. It's time to come in. Don't touch the grass ash on the ground. And the yellow paper on the wall. As soon as I walked through the door, Jinban's blind man hurriedly closed the door. He put a ghost talisman on the door. Put down the side of the corpse. The uncomfortable feeling didn't continue. I was truly relieved. This thing is really Lin Yuan's state. I asked Jinban to be blind. You were grabbed by Lin Yuan in the reeds. There must be his aura on his body. There was a yellow charm in front of the door, and that thing didn't dare to come in. It's not too early. Go to bed first. After Jinban finished speaking, he returned to his room. Just in case. I slept with a poem in my arms. 11 pieces get up. Bang bang bang. The blind man knocked on my door urgently. I was woken up by a heavy knock on the door. I saw that it was only 5 o'clock in the morning. Something happened. I was still wearing hazy pajamas. Get dressed. We'll have to go to the next door. The neighbor died. Suddenly I had no pajamas. The neighbor died. I was fine yesterday, but I'm dead today. We went out the door. Zhang Kai's car was already waiting. I saw Zhang Kai trembling. His face was pale, and he looked frightened. Let's talk about it. Chen asked Zhang Kai half blindly. After Chen and I left last night, Lin Xian felt that his daughter was too miserable. Opened the coffin on his own initiative. Inside were some relics of the wooded bowls. As a result, something went wrong. Lin Xian was directly torn by Lin Mu's bowl and spilled blood on the spot. Zhang Kai was in front of him at that time. I was completely stupefied by this scene. Lin Yuan originally wanted to kill Zhang Kai, but somehow, in the end, the forest wood bowl didn't start. Instead, he lay in a coffin. Zhang Kai is not good. Only then did he call Shun semi-blind. After listening to Zhang Kai's description, Jinban just sighed. You cannot live if you have done your own iniquity. If you don't move, the coffin will be fine. Now the coffin is moved. I'm afraid that human life can't be filled. Come back to the Lin family. There was a wail in the house. It must have been a mourning for Lin Xian. Lin Yuan's coffin was placed in a courtyard. The lid of the coffin was also tightly closed. Chun walked to the coffin with the blind man, reached out and touched the bottom of the coffin. The corpse was re-squeezed. I don't think the coffin nails will be able to hold back. At this time, the expression on his face is open. How ugly it is. How ugly it is. Master Chun, I apologize for the recklessness I had before. Help me. As he spoke, he knelt down towards Chunban's blind man. Chunban blind hesitated. You can find lightning strikes on mahogany. I glanced at the corpse whip in my hand. That's what lightning strikes Haiki does. It's a few points harder than a lightning strike on a peachwood. Zhang Kai said firmly. It is to be a meteorite in the sky. I can find it too. I'm going to look for it. After Zhang Kai finished speaking, he rushed out. Help me split the lid of this coffin. Chunban took out the gate knife that was officially used yesterday. It's a heavy blow to the coffin. A crack was split in the heavy coffin board. After a few hits, bang, the coffin board was completely split. Lin Yuan's corpse appeared in front of her again. Weirdly, she didn't know when her belly was getting big again. See this scene. Chan and I were blind, and our faces were gloomy. Resurgence. The female fetus returns to the mother and becomes one. What the hell did the Lin family do? It's hard for me. Jinban's blind man looked at Lin Yuan's belly. When the customs were closed last night, she has a talisman left on her belly, in order to prevent the fetus from returning to its place. But now the talisman on Lin Yuan's belly has been wiped off. Chen companion, who was still serious, was blind. Suddenly he laughed. 11 nights to accompany my uncle to perform a play. Maybe at the same time as shaking the 0 wooden bowl. Even the vaginal tire can be solved. How do you want me to accompany you? Chen's blind man Fu Air whispered a few words to me. You want me to pretend to be a ghost? I looked at Chen Ban's blind man in amazement. Not so. You want me to pretend? Chen Ban looked at me speechlessly. Tomorrow when it's dark, Zhang Kai is back. He was holding a few blackened pieces of wood in his arms. Mr. Chen, the lightning struck what you asked for was found. Chen Ban's blind man asked Zhang Kai to bring the lead kimu. Sharpen it to the thickness of your thumb and cut it into the shape of a nail. Half an hour later, Zhang Kai came over with recce wooden nails. Chen Ban's blind man just took over. There was a noise in the coffin. Then Lin Mu Bowl sat up straight. Oh what? I asked Chen Bian to be blind. Chen's blind man holds a recce wooden pick, walked up towards the wooded bowl, and then with lightning speed, pierced the rikiki wood into the belly of the woody bowl. Suddenly, his belly was like a punctured balloon. Hold it down at a speed visible to the naked eye. There is a golden house in Qingduan. Fang Yuan is masculine. For the second half of the year, Chen Ban's blind man took out the yellow talisman and pasted it on Lin Yuan's body. Then Lin Yuan's body fell into the coffin. 11 went to see Lin Yuan's body. Chen companion's blind man gave me a look. I whined and approached the coffin. Looked at Lin Yuan's body. I fell to the ground with a horse in my hand. Then I was in a trance. The whole person is floating, as if being held by someone. I tried to move but found I couldn't do anything about it. And the whole body is out of my control. Chen Ban's blind man looked at me with the same eyes. Also said that he would not act. Doesn't that look like it? Zhang Kai come out quickly. Chen Ban shouted blindly. Zhang Kai opened the door a crack. A head popped out. Is Mr. Chen's body solved? Don't worry, I won't miss a shot. Chen Ban said confidently. That's when it happened. One sound, the sound of the side, coming out of my mouth. Zhang Kai, you give me back my life. I want to say that's not what I said. I couldn't make a sound myself. I'm now in addition to some awareness. There is no control over one's own flesh at all. Chen companion looked at me blindly. He also secretly gave me a thumbs up behind his hand. Then he pretended to be frightened and shouted. Ghost upper body. Zhang Kai, what the hell is going on? You tell me clearly. Chen Ban's blind man grabbed Zhang Kai and wanted to ask for the guilt. Oh no, but Lin Yuan really didn't kill me. It's Lin Xian. It's definitely Lin Xian. Lin Yuan is not his biological daughter. And the seed in Lin Yuan's stomach is not mine. Zhang Kai said angrily. You will all bury me with me. The voice on the pubic side came out of my mouth again. Chen is blind and strong. His face became solemn. 11. Chen Ban's blind man called my name. I'd love to answer him, but there is nothing that can be done. Chen Ban's blind man also realized that something was wrong. Look at the wood grain in the coffin. Get out of my broken flesh. Otherwise, I'll make you lose your soul. Chen Ban threatened blindly. The sound of gurgling sound effects is heard. They have asked you to come and scatter my soul. Then everybody has to die. Chen Ban's blind man picked up the wet edge on the ground. Hit me mercilessly. But I didn't feel any pain. I can feel the opposite. The thing behind me that clings to me seems painful. Today, you see if I can beat you, and your soul will be scattered. The edge of the stone in Chen's blind man's hand kept hitting me. At first I didn't feel pain. I could clearly feel the pain in the back. Enough is enough, don't fight. I couldn't help but scream. Chen's blind man saw me holding a nail. I finally let go of my breath. Quickly hold down Zhang Kai. Something wants to get on him. I shouted nervously. Because I see a ghost. Now he is floating towards Zhang Kai. And one hand is about to catch Zhang Kai. Chen Ban's blind man heard a talisman drawn. Pressed directly on Zhang Kai's head. A wave of qi exploded from Zhang Kai's body. Jiangnan wants the ghost on his upper body to bounce out. Then the ghost saw an opportunity. This time, he will not attack Zhang Kai again. Instead, he pounced directly on the forest bowl. It's too late for me to stop it. Seeing that the forest bowl is about to raise the corpse, I'm holding a deadly whip. Hit directly on the stomach of the woodwork bowl. The corpse whip in my hand is made of the finest lightning wood. You can restrain all evil. The Yin spirits attached to the wood bowl now want to escape. It's already impossible. Zhenbei's blind man picked up the lightning-struck wooden nails. A yellow axe was wrapped around the nail. It was given to Lin Yuan's throat. The corpse shook and tried to get up. If I hadn't been holding it down, Lin Yuan had to go berserk. Then came the more brutal Sakura. Zhenbei's blind man struck Mu Ding with lightning and entered Lin Yuan's strange place. Okay, Chen companion spoke to me blindly. That's when I let go of my hand and put away the whip. Lin Yuan could no longer move. Chen Ban looked at him blindly. Zhang Kai asked, what about his mother? This question is also something I want to know. Start with receiving the corpse. Lin Yuan's mother disappeared. This is very suspicious. I don't know. Zhang Kai's eyes were erratic. Obviously lying. Chen's blind man put one hand on a coffin. If you don't say it, I'll just be officially nailed. Chen's blind man constantly stimulated Zhang Kai's cranial nerves. In the prison dragon in the basement, Lin Xian thought he had cuckolded himself. So the basement was changed to a dragon captive. Lin Yuan was also deliberately killed by Lin Xian. The swelling in his stomach is Lin Xian's. I knew it wasn't easy, but I didn't expect the relationship to be so slow. After Lin Yuan's mother, Deng Xiui, was released, Deng Xiui saw her daughter's miserable appearance, directly howled and cried. The half-blind man asked, "Let's talk about Lin Yuan's situation." There was a breath of resentment in her throat that could not be dissipated. "Now this case is buried. I'm afraid that the earth chi can't transform her body." Deng Xiui said everything at this time. 20 years ago. At that time, Deng Xiui was incredibly beautiful. "I'm getting along with another man." Lin Xian learned to get Deng Xiui from the side. Within 2 months, she became pregnant. For the sake of the reputation of both parties, Deng Xiui married Lin Xian. Later, because of a medical checkup, made Lin Xian discover that Lin Yuan was not her biological daughter. Lin Xian is a very vindictive person. Rather than being cheap, others should be cheaper. So I continued to use the side door to get Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan knew that Lin Xian had violated herself, but I didn't dare to say it. Under Lin Xian's persecution, the tale was taken off the shelves to Zheng Kai, nominally Zheng Kai's wife. In fact, it is Lin Xian's plaything, until Lin Yuan became pregnant. Plus Zheng Kai's humiliation and persecution. That's why I threw myself into the river in despair. The whole story is not a twist and turn, but it's definitely bizarre. This girl is miserable. Chen Ban's blind man shook his head and sighed. I can't take it anymore. Lin Xian was killed by her own hands. Although Zheng Kai is not at fault, but it's no less offensive. After the truth is revealed, a line of tears flowed from the corners of Lin Yuan's eyes. A puff of white smoke dissipated from her body. It seems that her grievances have been relieved. 11. Or you take her to the back mountain. Chen Ban's blind man suddenly spoke. The rules of tidying up people. Only the masterless are accepted. Do not accept the teacher of the family. Ding Tuiyi is still alive, so I can't accept it. I rejected Shin's blind man's offer. There are exceptions to everything. Don't forget that your parents are still in 100 course makers. Maybe I'll need this Lin Yuan's help in the future. I hesitated. I took out my phone and called my grandfather. Grandpa let me make up my own mind. Lin Yuan is one of the 100 corpse craftsmen. Maybe when I salvage my parents' bodies, it can really help. So I agreed. A half-blind man drove in the morning. Take the bodies of Lin Yuan and me back to the village. At the moment there is a thin crown in the courtyard. There is also a piece of gray shell. Today's date is engraved on the tomb. There are also the names of Lin Yuan and the cleaners. Of course, the name of the person who cleaned up was me. 11. Follow the rules of tidying up. Before the teacher enters the back mountain, he must burn incense and ask the teacher. I took the incense from my grandfather. Bow down to the coffin. After entering my own house, the mountain is also the place where I am buried. Among the 6 realms of Junsheng, there is no deserving pleasure. After speaking, I put the incense on the head of the coffin. After the grave bag is uplifted, I put a frog under the grave cup. After doing these calculations, you are done. Descend from the back hill. John asked his grandfather blindly. Those rice onions in the water of the eagle's head. I haven't bothered you these days. Grandpa shook his head. Thanks to you. These things don't dare to come. Chen Ban listened blindly. There was a smug look on his face. 11 followed me with a stone whip. Go to the reeds. John said to me blindly. I hesitated, keeping up with the footsteps of Chin's blind man. Come to the reeds. I saw it from afar. There were several pairs of feet floating on the water. Those upside-down onions felt my breath, waiting for me. These things. One is more powerful than the other. Chen Ban's blind man muttered to himself. Let's go back. I can't spend the night at your house tonight, though. Chen Ban left after the blind man finished speaking. I left the house again. I don't know when I will come back next time. When he returned to the blind man's residence, a man who did not cling to his robe appeared in the doorway. This person's aura is also very large. Stillness came to Chen Ban's blind man. It's been a long time since I've died. Chen is the same for the blind man. I want to remember it for a long time. I won't die if you die. At that time, it was not said that it was good to cut it in two. You came to me for a few more meanings. The robed man sneered. He reappeared. I can't do it alone. After Chen Ban's blind man heard it, the whole person's expression changed drastically. Your words are true. Otherwise, why do you think I'm coming to you? I said when he was in trouble. When am I going to kill you? The man's eyes fell on me after speaking. It's just a split second. I felt like I was being seen through. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow at noon. The man finished speaking and walked away. Chen Ban stood in place blindly. It took a while to react. You're okay, what kind of person? I asked Chen Ban to be blind. It's okay, you go back to the house first. I'll go back as soon as I go. Chen Ban went out in a trance blindly. This heartless person. It's like a different person all of a sudden. I took my stuff upstairs. Chen Companion's blind man arrived on his hind feet. Also came back with a few bottles of liquor. Sitting on a piece of broken wood. I blew half a bottle into the wine bottle in one go. That moment, his eyes turned red. Tears were falling. 11. Can you help me tomorrow? John was half blind and suddenly spoke. What do you want me to help you? I asked, puzzled. Precisely. Don't worry, I'll die. I'm not going to let you die. I promised your grandfather. Chen was half blind and fed me a reassuring pill. I knew there was a story between him and the man. I don't want to ask too much. I replied directly. I'll help you. John was half-blind and looked up at me. His eyes were full of gratitude. Since you are willing to help, I won't hide it from you. The poem that is going to shake is a line. Bill, what the hell is this? To put it bluntly, it is the same nature as zombies. The strength of this industry should not be underestimated. He blinded me in this eye. I was a little surprised. Aren't your eyes blinded by the earthquake and the plague? That's to find myself under the stairs. That's why I said that. Chunban finished speaking. Go back to your room and bring me a picture. The photo includes Chin's blind man. There were 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. I haven't seen a woman, but this man is the man in the robe. There is another man in the photo. Originally, it was the dragon at Tiger Mountain, Heavenly Master Ridpinas. Because he broke the color world, he was deleted by Dragon Tiger. And what about this woman? I asked. Her name is Lu Xinyi. Before his death, he was a disciple of the Ame Chunggao Xingsact. She is also the same of Ame. Then how did your relationship come to this? Could it be because of a love triangle? Chunban's blind man smiled bitterly. If that's the case, what's the harm if Lao Tzu withdraws? Because of my pride, I killed Zenishi. Isn't it Lu Xinyi that you're talking about? You've heard of Fengmin Village. There are corpses at Fengmin Village. The 3 of us went to the corpse. Sure Songzi took the lead and chased out. Who knows if it was a hanging tiger leading the mountain? Sure Kuei came back and stared at me and Xinyi. I was young and vigorous, so thinking about suppressing alone. Who knew that Sure Kuei couldn't beat and ran? He also pretended to be injured and deliberately led me away. Wait until I find out what's wrong. It was too late to return. Sure Kuei is eyeing Xin-Yi. Already bitten him. Later, Chung was half-blind and did not say anymore. But I was already able to guess. Lu Chani turned into a general. Ji Songzi and Chen are half-blind and turn against each other to have what they are today. Beloved turned into a general. This pain is incomprehensible to outsiders. The next day, at noon, a black car is parked at the intersection. It was the red pine nuts that drove the car. John was half-blind, and he was naturally not welcome. Pull me into the car. Do you still want to get into one? Sure Songzi spoke unceremoniously. You don't care. John was half-blind and didn't give a good face. Sure Songzi stopped talking and started the car. Chen asked half-blind on the road. Where is this time? Closed Gate Village. Sure Songzi replied. Chen's half-blind expression told me. It was an answer he didn't expect. John was half-blind and told me. A real closed village. It is more than a horror tree of a closed-door village that is said on the internet. When the car stops, it's already dark outside. Come to the village gate of Fengmin Village. The whole village is shrouded in towering trees. When I entered the village, I could only walk in the dark with my eyes. Pick up a handful of talismans and stick them on your body. The village is weird and unclean. Shenban's blind man took out 2 handfuls of yellow talismans and gave them to me. I put the yellow charm on my body. He followed Shenban into the village after the blind man. Location in the center of the village. Red pine nuts are busy in front of a clearing, constantly sprinkling something on the ground. He's swinging in a dead town. These lightning bolts have been struck into wooden nails. Nail 1 every 5 rocks. Walk around the town of the trapped corpse of the red pine nut. 2 hours later, Chi Sungzi brought 2 lotus lanterns. Stand in front of the lamp and chant the words. A single bead mouth divine soil will be divided. Lu will sign because of the gods to exorcise evil spirits. The trapped corpse locked the soul, and the Daoji lasts forever. Then he placed the wooden sword in the town of the trapped corpses. The next moment, laughter came from all directions. Aladdin enters the town of the trapped corpse. The half-blind man spoke as if he were facing a great enemy. I don't dare to hesitate. Run into the town of the trapped corpse of the red pine knot. Chi Sungzi glanced at me and reached out to shake it. A purple talisman fell on me. Sooner or later, you will be killed by him. I didn't say anything. Wet hands and vigilant surroundings. Akamitsuko took out a piece of black cloth and slipped it. I put it on the fire and grilled it. Suddenly, a drum sounded, and there was a roar. If you don't want to be unlucky, just calm your breath. Akamatsu said indifferently. With a snapping sound, the wind was blowing all around. The sound of giggling laughter was heard again. This time it's like being born in the ears. Do it, red pine nuts roared. Then the whole person rushed into the darkness. The sound of metal clashing, and the sound of whips rang out all around. It was pitch black. I couldn't see exactly what was going on. Die, you too. Contemptuous laughter was heard. There's a magic that shoots people's hearts. Yin and Yang are swaying. Before the former Kungan Heaven and Earth Pearl, a ray of evil, Chunban's blind voice came. Heaven and Earth are full of energy, and the gods and thunders of the heavens. Red pine nuts yelled. Thick. A sweaty thunderbolt streaked across the sky. Illuminate the world around you. Although only for a moment. But it also made me see what was going on. At this moment, Shi Songzi and Shenban are blind. Join forces to suppress a female corpse in red. Just for a moment. Except for this female corpse. I also seemed to see a ghost on the female corpse. Accompanied by a scream. Jun was half blind and flew back upside down. Lying on the ground screaming. I stepped forward and quickly helped the man up. The half-blind man pushed me away. I threw myself on the ground with 2 heels. The woman in red is at this moment. Stood in the original position of Chin's half-blind man. If it weren't for Chin's half-blind man pushing me away, I'm afraid of this. I was fingernails by the female teacher, frozen through the skull. It's dangerous. 11 dodges. John is half blind and on fire. I realized that there was no way to hide. Whipping in his hand. Straight in front of you. I flew out upside down. It's too late to cry out in pain. I quickly got up and ducked to the side. I said earlier that you would only kill others. Sure, Sungzi shouted at Chin's half-blind man. Lao Tzu also said that today is death. It won't let 11 have an accident. Chun was also blind, shouting. Then he flicked the long whip in his hand, directly wrapped around the neck of the female corpse. I stood not far away, not close. I could barely see it clearly. It doesn't matter how powerful this female corpse is. At this moment, there were 2 Yin spirits attached to her body. There is only one ghost after death. It is impossible for one person to have 2 Yin souls. Zenis, I'm sorry for you. Today, I will accompany you to hell. Chenban's blind man tugged at the whip in his hand, dragged Lu Chani over. Chenban's blind man grabbed a handful of hands and threw it into the air. Then he grabbed Ryu Xingyi's hands with both hands. The two are entangled. Don't do it yet. Chenban's blind man shouted at Shi Songzi. If you get out of the way, it's death. It's not your turn today. The red pine nut is also pulled out and turned around. It's just during this empty period. Lu Chani had already kicked away Chenban's blind man, completely free from the shackles. Shocks. Red pine nuts yelled. Immediately afterward, countless golden lights came out from the magic circle on the ground. These golden rays are like golden ropes. Tie up Lu Chani. Make it immobile for a short time. Shi Songzi and Chunban made a blind shot. Countless talismans have been posted on its body, but it's useless. I could see it clearly from the sidelines. These talismans are not useless. It is one of the ghosts that possessed Lu Chan's body. Scattered all of these talismans. It's useless for you to do that. He had 2 ghosts attached to him. One of the Yin spirits withstood the power of all the runes. I shouted. What did you say? Chanban Blind Man and Red Songzi spoke in unison. The 2 of them looked incredulous. 11 What 2 ghosts? Chun asked me half blindly. He has 2 shadows on him. I could only see phantoms. But these 2 phantoms can be determined. It's not the same ghost. The eyes of the sky are open to the eyes of the earth. The chi of heaven and earth is yin and yang. It's the pine nut edict. It seems that he has opened his own yin and yang eyes. And Chen is half blind. It is much simpler. Take out a small box. I buckled a piece of ointment and touched it on my eyelids. The 2 of them looked at Lu Shani with a solemn face. 11, are you sure you read that right? Chun asked me half blindly. I glanced at Ryu Zenichi again, nodding solemnly. That's right, it's 2 ghosts. With a sharp roar, Lu Chan broke free from the wet formation. Instead, they rushed straight at me. Barbecue 2. This is a direct attack on me. I'm holding a wet whip. At the moment when Lu Chan rushed over, quickly sideways to dodge. At the same time, the whip was wet in the hand. Towards Lu Xingyi's heavenly spirit cover. Lu Chan half knelt on the ground. I quickly distanced myself between the 2. Shi Songzi and Chen Banblon joined forces to suppress it. But Yanagi's Nishi seem to be entangled with me. Whenever I get the chance, they will attack me. Chen Companion is blind and has the heart to protect me. I don't know what to do for a while. Old dog Shin, what'd you do to this kid? Red Pine Nuts yelled. Chen Ban's blind face was wrong. It's like a dumb person who eats yellow lotus and can't say it. I didn't do anything. At this time, Lu Xingyi attacked me again. Chen Ban's blonde man hurriedly pushed me away. Then the whip in his hand wrapped around Lu Xingyi. I stood firm and looked at Yanagi. Uncle Shun used Li Jin wooden nails, positioned 5 inches below his head. Shouted. Chen Ban's blind man hesitated at the moment. Old Chen, you dare. Red Pine Nuts made a sound to stop it, immediately followed by the copper-point sword in his hand, poked in the body of Chen Ban's blind man. Suddenly, Lu Chani was disengaged, coming at me again. I finally understand now. Why did the 2 of them suppress it several times without success? Feelings are at issue here. Neither of them was willing to hurt Lu Xingyi. How this town? If Chen Ban is blind and ruthless, take out the means of the Shunling wooden bowl. I'm afraid this Lu Chan was suppressed early in the morning. Never. I pulled a Reki wooden nail from the ground, looking at Lu Zenichi who rushed towards me, lying directly on the ground. After dodging his shot, I got up at the same time. The Rekamu in his hand stabbed towards Lu Chani's back. Rekamu was tied to Lu Xingyi. Suddenly, a cylinder burst open, pushed me out. Lu Chani stood in place. It's like a dozen eggplants. In an instant, the momentum was gone. A ghost took the opportunity to break away from Lu Chani. Stop the shadow. I opened my mouth at the same time. The corpse whip in his hand was also thrown out. At the same time as hitting the ghost, the whip was thrown at the wall. Then it bounced off the ground. Shi Songzi and Shun Ban were shocked. The 2 looked at me in disbelief. Apparently their expressions tell me they didn't see the ghost just now. Lu Xingyi at this moment, lying on the ground unable to move. Shi Songzi and Chen Ban's blind man stepped forward slowly. You 2 hurt me so badly. Qingling's voice came. The expressions of the 2 could no longer be restrained. Zen 1 is that I have hurt you. Chen Ban's blind man knelt directly in front of Lu Chani. Brother Shen, little sister has never blamed you. If you want to blame it, you can't have shocked me earlier. I suffered for a few years. Lu Chani spoke weakly. Now I understand a little. The ghost of Lu Xini himself. It's been suppressed. Another possessed ghost. The twin souls occupy a tomb. Lu Chani was the suppressed side. If it wasn't just now that I used Reggie Wood, broke the method of the Yin soul, I'm afraid I can't suppress him now. Brother Song. Lu Chani stretched out his hand. Akamatsu also half knelt on the ground. You have not been willing to do anything to me all these years. The two of you have drama and grievances in your hearts. Can you give me relief today? One of you was expelled from me. One abandoned Mao Shan for me. Is it worth it? At this time, Chen was half blind and red pine nuts. Both were deeply remorseful. This kid is very good. It was one of you who took in the apprenticeship. Chen looked at me half blindly. Mean. Lu Xini also looked at me. Very good. A wave of Mao Shan someone took over. A wave of Mao Shan Mountain. John is half blind and is the elder of Mao Shan. It's incredible. What's his name? Lu Chani suddenly pointed the finger at me. Back up the grandson of Ren Ying's family. English 11. Can you talk to him alone? The two of them looked puzzled. And faced Lu Xini's request. The two of them didn't want to refuse. I swatted down in front of Lu Chani with the corpse whip in hand. He sat cross-legged on the ground. John is accompanied by blind men and red pine nuts. Stepped aside in order. We don't know each other. I'm not Chin's blind apprentice. What are you going to say to me? I asked him warily. Now I look normal though. Wait until my soul consciousness dissipates. We'll become a real general. When the time comes, no one will be able to suppress it. Now I want you to kill me. I was a little overwhelmed by this. Because Chen Ban is blind and red pine nuts can't do it. I also understand why Lu Chani is looking for me. It won't embarrass you too much. This lightning nail only needs to be fixed into my heavenly spirit. You can completely suppress me. I looked at the lightning spike in my hand. Some can't get their hands on it. The heart has also become complicated. Do it. Lu Chan spoke. Just as I was getting ready to do it, Lu Chan's face changed abruptly. One hand grabbed my hand gripping the lightning spike. The other hand is joined into a sword point, straight to the center of my eyebrows. I exclaimed. Chen Ban blind man and Chi Sungzi heard the movement. They all ran over. Don't move. Lu Chan roared. Chen Ban blind man and Red Sungzi stopped. Lu Chani looked at me. There is determination in the eyebrows. The process can be a little uncomfortable, but you'd better hold on. With that, my skull began to ache sharply. It's like someone flooding your brain. It could explode at any moment. Countless things that don't belong to me rush into my mind. Severe pain. I can't tell what these are. The whole process lasted 2 minutes. Lu Chani smiled indifferently. Hold my hand holding the lightning spike. Pierced directly towards his own celestial spirit. My whole mind went blank. Then he passed out. I don't know what happened in the meantime. Just waiting for me to wake up. It's in Chen's blind man's house. I rubbed my furious brain. Countless things that don't belong to me. It also comes to my mind now. Part of the memory in your head. It was passed on to you by a Zen doctor. Passed on to you together. There is also a purple spring and auto clothes. Chen Ban's blind voice came. I reached out and turned on the light. Found on the edge of her bed. His eyes were red at me. The Yin family collects corpses. It depends on the people who are buried in the mountain behind your house. The enshrined deserves to solve the problem. Very few inheritors have entered. The Zen doctor passed on the Yamei purple clothes to you. Whether this is a blessing or curse is not yet known. I don't know if the Packers can enter the Tao. My parents' bodies are still in the reeds. If I didn't have the means to revive the corpse, it's impossible to deal with 100 corpse craftsmen. I'm going to enter the Tao. I told Chun for sure that he was half blind. Chun was half blind and nodded. You get acquainted with what's going on in your head. The forehead eyebrows and purple clothes are peculiar. Originally, men were not allowed to touch the Tao. You have strange constitution and are haunted by 100 corpses. Therefore, you can barely practice if you pass on the work. Merely, Chun was half blind and said this. The tone became hesitant. What? I asked him curiously. It's okay to wait for your parents' bodies to be salvaged. I'll scatter you in purple. Can't I practice this way? I asked Chun half blind. You're now because of the 100 corpse makers. The physique is Yin, so you can practice. But if you solve the 100 corpse maker, your constitution will return to normal. Men have a more young physique. Plus the blessing of spring and autumn and purple clothes. At least 2 forces are hedged. There is no progress in cultivation. The most important thing is that Yang Sheng fell off and went crazy. One of the chi orifices in which the essence blood flowed backwards and bleeds to death. Jian is half blind and explained. I get it all. I took a deep breath. In the way of the spring and autumn of purple flows. 3 breaths and vomit short knees. Exhale in 1 breath and so on. After feeling the air flow around you, I began to draw breath around my body. Half an hour later, with a long puff of peck air, Chun Ban stared at me blindly. There was an incredibleness in his eyes. How about the way I'm working, right? I asked Chen Bian to be blind. The right way. You know what you can practice. I shook my head in the face of Chin Ban's blonde questioning. The method of cultivation lies in the storage of qi. Take your grandfather, for example. In these years, although the corpse has not entered the Tao itself, but the things that he buried in the back mountain, it will leave sworn on him. And this evil is also a kind of qi. As the evil gathered in his body, it gathered a lot. And that's what happened. And this is the air root. 10,000 laws return to the root, and a chi returns to the root. That's the Dharma. You have to turn a gas introduced into the body into an air root. It exists in the flesh. To put it more popularly, it is to borrow the purple flows in the spring and autumn period. Open up your own 8 veins. Deposit the root of chi in your 8 veins. Waiting for you to do it. It's the real initiation. I get the general idea, but what exactly is it like? I still need to slowly experience it in the future. Chunban's blind man got up. Take a simple break. It's dark. Come out with me. Is it to be confirmed? I hurriedly asked. Sort of. Chunban's blind man snorted hard. In the evening, Chen's blind man took me to the suburbs. Yesterday I was contacted by a professor from the archaeology team. It is said that a pair of copper horns and gold crowns were dug up. It is said that there is frost on the terroir. I guess something is going to happen. His voice had just fallen. The phone rang in the next second. Lao Chen, are you here? I'm afraid the contents of the coffin are going to be on fire. A hurried voice came. Chen's blind man yelled into his phone. I let you prepare the boneless. Now you can sprinkle it on the terroir. Remember not to let people approach, lest they absorb moisture. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Jian was half blind and stepped on the accelerator directly to the bottom. I came to a place fenced with iron sheets. Chen's half-blind car slammed into the door directly. Lao Chen, you can be regarded as here. The coffin was about to arch out. John was half-blind and called him Lao Su. Come to the place where you dig. A copper-colored coffin has been exposed, and every now and then, he moves. You can move an inch upwards every time. After eating, it was fire. I was amazed. The fire. If you can't keep it, you have to try to change. John was half-blind and scolded. He took out a talisman and pasted it on the bronze coffin. Suddenly the coffin fell silent. No longer continued to arch outward. Lao Su asked people to hurry up and pull peach firewood. Catch a few more roosters, by the way. No. This is the tomb of the Liao state. To burn it is to destroy the cultural relics. As soon as I heard this, Xian and I were speechless. No more. Aladdin, let's go. Seeing that Xian was half-blind, he was leaving. The surnamed Su hurriedly stopped Chen's half-blind man. Lao Chen, if you go, don't cooperate in the future. I'm also going to talk in the official circle. Said that you saw the money and took advantage of the situation to rob. Okay, you dare to say cruel things. I dare to shake out your smoke and miscellaneous. You see, none of us can eat and walk around. I saw that the two of them were deadlocked, and neither of them would give a step. I opened my mouth to mention the plan. Can the things in the coffin be controlled? Now we have to switch the switch to decide. If it's a fierce lion, it's definitely going to stay. If the corpse is chicken, it can be guaranteed to be darkened. It doesn't hurt to keep that. However, you still have to prepare peach firewood before switching. If the lion is to be burned as soon as possible. Chen Ban blind agreed. Lao Su hesitated. In the end, I compromised. Let someone go and bring a cart of escape firewood back. If the bronze foot gold pass was carried out, everyone was holding their breath. Direct switch. Chen Ban's blind man ordered everyone to switch it on. With the coffin being pried open, the expected smell of corpses did not appear. It exudes a strange fragrance from the copper pass. If you don't want to die, don't smell it. The scent has a psychedelic effect. Chen Ban's blind man spoke. I bit the tip of my tongue to sober myself up. It smells amazing. Chen's blind man abandoned and came to the coffin, went up and kicked the coffin to the ground. I saw a woman lying in the coffin. He wears a golden mask on his face. Is this corpse an ancient corpse? I asked Chen half-blind. Wait now, the original white-skinned and beautiful female corpse. At this moment, it has turned into a yellow, dry-skinned monster. Before I could react, the monster burst out of the coffin. Hands grabbed my neck, and I was given the first flight by a dramatic force. A sharp pain came, and he fell directly to the ground. Chun was half-blind and stared at me. Something is wrong. I was puzzled. Chun was half-blind and pulled me up. You recounted. Don't touch women lately. Inside the coffin was not a lion. It's not a lion, that's what? I don't understand. Chun was half-blind and pulled me. It is the yellow skin of the essence. I'm afraid this thing is going to get you hooked too. I was speechless. It's just that I'm entangled in a corpse sauce. Now it's entangled in yellow skin again. It pesters me for what to do. You're in a base tone. It's easy to get targeted by dirty things. I looked at the bronze coffin. It's empty. I asked about the corpse. It turned into a puff of white smoke and flew away. This is the place where this yellow skin crosses immortals. Through this, the earth chi and the flesh are sanctified. It's a good thing to be bad now. It's going to be remembered. That's when I noticed the woods in the distance. A vicious look was staring at me. Then it vanished into a burst of afterimage. This is the yellow skin. I asked Chen in surprise. He nodded and told me, as long as you don't get close to women in the near future, it's not too much of a problem. I only shouted bad luck in my heart. What is it that provokes every day? The rest of the tomb will be left to the archaeological team. Chun and I went back to the residence. Just arrived at the doorstep. Akamitsuko ran out and blocked the way. Chun was half-blind and stared at Chi Sungzi. You buried Zen in the river. Akamitsuko's face was full of disdain. You don't need to know. I'm not here for you this time. Tim. Akamitsuko looked at me. What's wrong with me? Do you have anything to do with me? I asked about the red pine nuts. You come with me to a May. Chi Sungzi said coldly. I smacked it in the face. I didn't expect him to raise his eyebrows at all. John was half blind, but his face was calm. Obviously, he guessed the ending of this matter. I don't want to get involved in the grievances of the three of you. Lu Chani passed on the gong to me, but he didn't ask me if I wanted to. I'm wearing purple clothes, and I'm about to go to a May in the spring and autumn. Then I'd rather draw this body right now. Seeing me so resolutely, the red pine nuts were intimate eyes. He didn't expect me to be like this. Chen Ban looked at me blindly. It's a little more appreciated. Then he turned to look at the red pine nuts. Amaze ethos. Do you think 11 can get out of the way? Faced with the questioning of Chen Ban's blind man, Akamatsu stopped talking. Chun and I were about to enter the house. Akamatsuko suddenly spoke. If he follows you, you will indeed kill him. Chen Ban's blind man did not say anything. I just went into the house with my head down. The next day at noon, I got up. It was found that Chun was half blind and had gone out. I went out to find something to eat nearby, but I'm not far out of the house. I met an old acquaintance. It was actually my college classmate Zhang Xuanjiao. And she, why are you here? Zhang Xuanjiao also opened her mouth in surprise when she saw me. I was surprised. I didn't expect to meet my college classmates here. At this time, Chun was half blind and came back from outside. 11 went back and packed up. I just got a job of 100,000 yuan. Zhang Xuanjiao recognized Chin's half-blind voice. And she, the two of you are official people. Chan was half-blind and said with a smile. Such a coincidence. You know that. Then I learned about Zhang Xuanjiao. It is the owner of the money who gave 100,000 yuan to invite Chun to accompany the blind man. That Miss Jiang. You have to tell us about your situation. I'm going to analyze how to face it squarely. Chun Ban's blind man spoke. Zhang Xuanjiao hesitated when she heard this. In the end, I chose to speak. It was my godfather who had the problem. Godfather. I was amazed. Isn't this just being wrapped? My godfather didn't know how to do it lately. The temper becomes short-tempered, and at every turn, he scolds me. Shouldn't he be taken to a psychiatrist? How do you think about finding the right person? I asked, confused. Zhang Xuanjiao's face was full of embarrassment. I suspect he's not normal. Recent times. My godfather moved to the basement. Only come out at night. Every time I come into contact with him, I could smell the stench on him. It felt like the smell of dead rats. Last night I asked him to take a shower, but he just didn't go. I grabbed him in the middle of my throat. As a result, a piece of flesh was torn off his arm. He beat me up and went back to the basement. I looked up the information overnight. This is the case said on the internet. It's a disgruntled walking corpse. That's why I found you. Zhang Xuanjiao finished speaking. The look of horror on his face could not be concealed. Chen Ban listened blindly. Said that he had to go to the scene to see the situation before he could judge. Zhang Xuanjiao responded. The three of us set off together. The car stopped in front of a villa. Look at the villa in front of you. It was like something was shrouded in it. There is also an air of decay all around. It seems that the problem is not small. Open the villa door. A bone-in wind poured out. Let me shiver a few times in a row. Go into the courtyard of the villa. The ground was covered with a thick layer of black mud. Chen Ban's blind man used his foot to pluck away the black mud. There was a thick layer of lime under the black mud. Corpse farm. Chan was half blind and exclaimed. The lime cover covers the earth and insulates the yang. Then use black mud to cover the surface to lock the stone tools disdainfully. A typical corpse rearing ground. Enter the living room. Zhang Xuanjiao pointed to the corner door. That's the basement door. The anti-lock inside can't be opened at all. Chun is half blind and doesn't talk nonsense. Take out a sea bowl from your bag. Then he lit another incense. Caught in the crack of the door. What is strange is the aroma of this incense. It sank directly into the bowl, immediately followed by the aroma in the bowl. It's like I'm attracted to something. I went through the crack in the door and into the basement. After the fragrance burns out, the sea bowl shattered to the ground. Chen Ban's blind man's expression became serious. What time did your godfather first come out at night? I had just fallen asleep when I came out yesterday. It was about 9 o'clock. Zhang Xuanjiao replied. I stepped forward and asked. It's more powerful than a wood bowl. It's not as bad as the upside-down onions. It's not a great thing, though, but it can absorb people's yang energy, especially if a man dares to approach. The yang energy in the body will be sucked away. I'll go. So powerful. I couldn't help but take 2 steps back. See Zhang Xuanjiao like this. Chen Ban laughed slyly. I slapped my head. Chen Ban is blind. This is inviting you into the urn. It's not impossible to solve this problem. It's just the stuff that sucks people's flavor. Sure, E and I can't go in. As for whether it can shock the other party, it's up to you. Zhang Xuanjiao looked dazed after hearing this. Isn't it just to invite the poet to come to the poem? How to push the problem back onto yourself? Zhang Xuanjiao asked scaredly. How can I help? Women's physique is inherently British. And you and your godfather have passed that again. So she doesn't matter to you. I'll teach you how to suppress corpses. Give you a magic weapon to suppress corpses. All you need to do is nail it to his heart. The corpse is finished. I asked, confused. Is it possible that we will break down now? Like it was on TV. Throw the body out into the sun. The corpse is melted in the sun. You kids still know it's TV. Zhenban blind man sarcastically said to me. Jiang Chuanjiao asked nervously. That's what I need to do. And what to get your hands dirty. Now I need to hide a circle in the courtyard. The pattern of the corpse breeding ground has been changed. We'll do it tonight. Zhenban's blind man unloaded a lot of things from the car. Registering 5 color flags and copper coins. In addition to this, there are 2 gossip mirrors. 11 red ropes were buried under the black mud. Zhenban shouted at me blindly. After saying that, he took the clay nail and came to the courtyard. After calculating the bearings, began to stab terracotta nails to the ground. I could see something in his movements. Reverse the silver sheep and unload the silver giant sheep. Zhenban nodded in appreciation. What I'm going to do is lure the body out. Use some young energy to trap the corpse and can't escape. If the girl falls off the chain at night. I was close to the process of shaking wet. It will not be sucked dry of young energy. Jiang Chuanjiao was not idle. Help me stretch the flag on the ground. Zhenban's blind man dropped the large net on the eaves again. 2 gossip mirrors, one of which was hung on the net. One was buried in the ground. The time came to 10 o'clock in the evening. The candles in the courtyard turned into worry in an instant. Swaying in the wind. Jiang Chuanjiao was sitting in a living room at the moment, eyes fixed on the basement door. The next second, the lights in the living room flickered a few times, and all of them went out. Then came Jiang Chuanjiao's exclamation. It can be seen through the moonlight. A figure pressed Jiang Chuanjiao on the sofa. Old song. You hurt me by tapping it. Old song. I want to come to the excitement. Let's go to the yard to do it well. Jiang Chuanjiao's words were not finished. With a snap, Jiang Chuanjiao was slapped in the face. The half-blind man said that he wanted to be corpsed. This thing must be brought to the yard. It will be difficult for him to think about it again when he returns to the basement. Suddenly, Jiang Chuanjiao's scream sounded from inside the house. Immediately afterwards, Jiang Chuanjiao ran out of the living room. Behind it was a figure. The man's face turned pale in the moonlight. Eyes are red. It should be Jiang Chuanjiao's godfather Song Yuan. The next moment, Song Yuan raised his head, looked over to us. Worse, found us. Song Yuan opened his mouth towards us. Then I felt a sharp one. You want to suck me up? Jian is blind and strong. The float in his hand was thrown out. With a wild roar, a dark shadow scurried back into the house. Tom returned to the courtyard. Jiang Chuanjiao got up from the ground in horror. Then he ran towards us. What about Song Yuan? Chuan asked him blindly. Jiang Chuanjiao's face was full of horror, pointing to the basement door. Anan, this guy is frightened unless the corpse is successfully raised. Otherwise it wouldn't have come out. Zhenban's blind man spoke. Then when he successfully raised the corpse, he came out. Isn't it okay to suppress it again? Hearing this, Chen companion was blind and almost didn't jump up. If the corpse is successfully raised, it will be a zombie. Ordinary zombies don't have brains. This thing has a brain. Killing people is like hanging up. Jiang Chuanjiao was about to cry. 11. Please help me. Now what should I do? This also makes me feel embarrassed. The force of the sucking just now. I can still remember what it felt like. The other party just opened his mouth and was so powerful. If I did, I wouldn't be an opponent. Chunban's blind man sighed. It's not impossible to completely shake the corpse. You can only rely on thunder and fire. Burn the corpses in the ground. But I don't know how to do calligraphy. If you really want help, you can go and ask for red pine nuts. The green thunder spell of a dragon and tiger hanging head in palace. It can be used to hook out the ground fire. How can this be done? Last night, I dismissed the face of the red pine nut. Now I beg him again. Let's go back first. Think again about whether there is any other way. Chen companion is blind with the bag on his back. He left without looking back. I asked Zhang Chuanjiao to move out and cook first. When it was over, I left with Chen companion blindly. Just when I arrived at the door, red pine nuts were waiting there again. I felt speechless inside. It's endless. Aren't you willing not to loosen my forehead? Chen Ban's blind man spoke first. I didn't let you take 11 yesterday. Won't let you take it away today. Chi Sungzi didn't bother to pay attention to Chen's blind man. Instead, they stood in front of me. Can you talk about it alone? What does he say? I asked Akamatsuko. The Yin family collect corpses. Accept or not accept things that have no name. Akamatsu asked me. Harvest. What the Yin family receives is the master of the ownerless. I answered truthfully. I have a word of corpse that I want to hand over to you. According to the rules of your Yin family, let him be buried in the earth. I was a little surprised. I didn't expect Akamatsuko to find me at all. It's for this. The corpse is in my place if I can. I can pick you up tomorrow morning. Yes. I didn't hesitate to say yes. I turned and walked inside. Akamatsuko suddenly spoke. I owe you a favor. You can always open your mouth if you need to. Chen's blind voice came from inside the house. What a favor. It's obviously two favors. You want 11 to help you collect the body. This is the first favor. Let your people be buried in the mountains behind the Yin family. This is the second favor. Do you admit it or not? Chen is a blind man. Domineering appearance. Look at the red pine nuts. I think so. Chi Songzi gritted his teeth and said. Chun Ban's blind face was proud. Just the first favor. Top you shot once. Just use the green thunder of Lunghu Mountain. Suddenly hooked out the ground fire. Predecessor, Uncle Shun didn't mean to be embarrassed. It's just that a friend of mine is trapped to raise his younger brother. At that time, it will suck people's Zong energy, so it can only be burned out with ground fire. I opened my mouth to explain. Where's the body? Now at what point? Akamatsu asked me, and I told him, that's not far from here. It's only a few dozen miles. I need to go back and get some things ready. Send me the location. We met there an hour later. Say it, Red Pine Nuts leave. It's time to call your classmates. I'll clean it up tonight. The blind man was a little excited. An hour later, we met at the door of the villa. Akamitsuko looked at the black mud on the ground, glancing around the villa again. I want to force the t-shirt out of the ground. It's not that hard. The Dragon Tiger Mountain 5 Thunderman truck can also be done. If not, I won't play it anymore if I use the Blue Thunder spell. You'll allow seniors have done it. I spoke. Red Pine Nuts draw out 5 talismans of different colors. With his hand he reached out and shot it. 5 talismans turn and fall in all directions. There was also a volley suspended above the head of the Red Pine Nut, accompanied by the words in the mouth of the Red Pine Nut. A golden light submerged into his heavenly spirit. Thunder is all over the palms of the hands. This is the Dragon and Tiger 5 Thunder Day. I opened my mouth and marveled. Suddenly the entire villa on the ground. Sparks and lightning were everywhere. The TSK is even more incessant. Almost at the same time, there was a thud in the living room, and a dark shadow appeared. Red Pine Nuts pinched with both hands. The wooden sword behind him flew up, approaching the shadow directly. With the sound of knocking over something sounded, and all the thunder on the ground was gone. The body of the living room was lying on the ground. Wooden sword of Red Pine Nuts. It has penetrated the eyebrows of the corpse. 11 is over. I'll be waiting for you downstairs tomorrow morning. Akamitsuko said to leave without looking back. The Red Pine Nuts not only forced out the corpse, I also helped solve it. This aspect alone, it's much more reliable than Chin's half-blind man. As for the latter thing, after making sure that the corpse will not be tricked again, Chun and I left half-blind. The next morning, the first appointment of Red Pine Nuts appeared at the gate of the community at 8 o'clock on time. Chenban's blind man said that he would follow along. A car driven by a Red Pine Nut. It's like a hearse used in a funeral home. Behind is the ice pass. After seeing the corpse in the ice gate, Chenban's blind man was directly stunned. The people in the ice pass are none other than others. It was none other than Lu Xingyi. Chenban's blind man saw Lu Shani's body. Immediately, his eyes were red. His corpse was frowned upon. It's as simple as that. Akamatsu opened lightly. After Lu Shani passed on the exercises to me, I passed out. As for where the bodies of Akamatsu and Lu Zenichi went, Chenban didn't tell me. Now listen to Matsuko speak. It seems that he wants to send Lu Xingyi back to Goose Eyebrow. As a result, it is now Goose Mei who refuses. The old guys with goose eyebrows. Sooner or later, one day, Lao Tzu lifted their skulls. Chenban's blind man said angrily. I didn't say anything. His gaze lingered on Lu Chani's corpse for a moment. There was an inexplicable sadness in my heart. I contacted my grandfather when I left. Let him help prepare what is needed. When we got home, Grandpa has already prepared everything. The corpse of the Shomatsuko will be Lu Xingyi. He was taken out of the ice coffin and put into the coffin. Follow our ritual of tidying up. After the coffin is sealed, the next step is to settle down. With the gravestone sharp weapon, I took the incident to fight. Knocked on the gravestone. The green pile in my hand is fastened under the tombstone. The ceremony ended for good. At the time of passing through the reeds at the entrance of the village, the water is seemingly calm. In fact, it was choppy. Those rice onions may have fallen right under the water. On the way, Shin's blind man answered a phone call. His expression changed immediately. I asked curiously. Something happened. Jiang Chuanxiao died. Chun said half blindly. I was a little surprised. Good guy. Why did he die suddenly? How did I? Asked. Chun was half blind and shook his head. I don't know. His godfather has been suppressed by Chan semi-blind. It's right that you don't cheat corpses. But if it weren't for him, the man killed him. And who can it be? Wait until you get back to your accommodation. A police car pulled up at the door. Okay, Lao Shun has taken an apprentice. One of the captains joked. Now let's talk about how Jiang Chuanjiao died. Chan is half blind and gets straight to the point. We don't know how it died. When it was found, it was already a dried corpse. After a forensic autopsy, say it in a very short time, drained of water, so dry and wetter formed. Chan's half-blind expression was solemn. It's not like someone has drained your whole body. It should have been inhaled with oxygen from all over the body. Take me to the scene of the crime. I need to be sure of one thing. John is half-blind, and he is serious. The captain doesn't talk nonsense either. Then we came to the villa where Jiang Chuanjiao lived. Chen Blind walked into the villa, looked around and around the corner, but nothing was found. Jiang Chuanjiao died in the basement. Chen came out of the basement and asked. The captain nodded. A hint of color flashed on Shin's half-blind face. Figured out the problem. So let's go first. Shinban's blonde man finished instructing. Took me out of the land of right and wrong. On the way, I couldn't help but be curious. What the hell is going on? Jiang Chuanjiao, his godfather, was killed by someone. Shi Songzi headed the division, and I shook the division. It is equivalent to the big guy directly offending a person who raised knowledge. Jiao Chuanjiao's young energy may have also been sucked away by this cultivator. What kind of person are you talking about? I asked Chen Bian to be blind. I don't know, but the cultivator had his eye on the two of us. There's a good chance it's going to be the next move for you. Me? Why? Chen Bian's blind man looked at me with an aggrieved face and stepped forward to comfort me. Your strength is too weak. Now I'm starting to get skeptical. Is it a wise choice to follow Chen Bian's blind man? Provoke 100 corpse generals. It's not enough to have yellow skin. Now he is being targeted by the testers again. What a nest of grass this is. Follow Chen Bian to the blind man back home. My whole being was in a state of panic. During this time, I stayed at home. In the meantime, I have been cultivating the purple clothes spring and autumn period. Use the art of luck to adjust Zhou Shun's chi roots. At this time, I also succeeded in condensing the air roots, and it can cast the simplest giant soul technique. Thinking of this, I decided to give it a try. The so-called giant soul technique, similar to spiritualism. Some lowly ghosts can be summoned. I folded my hands and began to wrinkle. Too much of a red split. Zhaoxing lonely soul yellow net Taiyuan. Turbulent Taixian scattered soul shattered. Haste as a law. A cyclone condensed in the darkness, coming from all directions. A trace of Yin. It keeps condensing. As the Yin Chi condenses more and more, a humanoid phantom gradually revealed. When I see the face of the other side, I was so shocked that I couldn't speak. Willow's in one. How is you? Lu Chani didn't expect me to summon him. The shock was no less than mine. You have comprehended the spring and autumn period in purple clothes. Lu Chan asked me in surprise. Now I'm dying. I will pass you on the spring and autumn of purple clothes. I want you to inherit the roots of a May. I didn't expect you to cultivate so quickly. Lu Chan's eyes were full of disbelief. Chen was half blind and told me, when you're done, your soul will be gone. Now you reunite your soul. I'll call him over now. With that, I got up and called Chen Dan blind. No. Lu Chan stopped me as soon as he opened his mouth. You are now a ghost. You should have a way of stabilizing your soul. I refuse. Lu Chan shook his head. If only he knew that my soul had reunited. He wanted to bring me back to my life. Come back life. Is it so serious? I don't understand. 11. I want to ask you for one thing. Lu Chan opened his mouth slowly. You said as long as I could. No excuses. Now I'm reunited. It can be said that when I get blessed, I can't be beaten to pieces. So I need to nourish my soul with the help of your body. I looked at his spirit. It's starting to get unreal. His time was running out. If I refuse. Okay, I agreed. See, I agree. Lu Xini's soul sank into my eyebrows. 11. Thank you. I came out of the bedroom. I didn't eat that day, so I went out to find something to eat. Just ordered something. Someone called my name behind me. Because 11. Zhang Kai's figure appeared in my sight.